Please welcome Jane Golden, Mural Arts of Philadelphia Executive Director, Black Thought, the Roots co-founder, and artists Hank Willis Thomas and Shepard Fairey.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jane Golden, and I'm the Executive Director of the Mural Arts Program in Philly. And I am very excited to be here today. And I'm really excited to be part of the Ideas We Should Steal Festival, brought to you by the Philadelphia Citizen. And the Philadelphia Citizen is an awesome publication. Thank you, Larry Platt. And our panel today is Art as a Means of Social Change. And it's something that we live and breathe every day at the Mural Arts Program. And I think when we talk about this, I want you to know I'm not just talking about mural arts, but there are extraordinary organizations across the city and across this country who are merging art and social change. And because of them, they're moving the needle on critical social issues. So to everybody out there doing the hard work, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. At Mural Arts, we're devoted to that notion that art can really move the needle, and we try to put it to work every single day on behalf of every citizen in the city of Philadelphia. So to all Philadelphians out there, I say thank you, and I want you to know how grateful I am. So tonight, I am joined by three extraordinary people who I have had the pleasure to know over the years at Mural Arts. Please join me in welcoming Hank Willis Thomas, Shepard Fairey, and Tariq Trotter. Yay! I would just jump up and down, but then everything would go out of whack. So I am jumping up and down internally. So Shepard, we're going to start with you. So Shepard is extraordinarily multi-talented. He is a social activist, an extraordinary artist. He works in prints and murals and stickers. He shows his work across the country and across the world. His murals are beautiful. He has a clothing line. He is like a Renaissance person. And what you probably know him best from the Hope poster that he did when President Obama was running for office. It was ubiquitous. It was everywhere. And for me, it was captivating to see. I also knew him from the Andre the Giant has a posse campaign. And I love the fact that I just love that everything he does, he makes available to people. But what you might not know is Shepard has 5 murals in the city of Philadelphia. And he worked with our reentry program, the Guild. He worked with kids in our art ed program. He went out to Graterford Prison. And I love that the guys in our class did a Shepard Fairey and they welcomed him. Remember that, Shepard? That was such an awesome moment. So I want to say that as talented as he is, that's how nice a person he is. He has tremendous empathy. And I think like a key to this is that his work is on open source. So you can download things. He's always made it accessible to everyone. And that to me is really, it's a lot because I'm always thinking about access. So Shepard, what I want to ask you is, my question is about the Hope poster. So what was that experience like for you as you saw it like start to take off, and how did it sort of mold your feelings about art and its meaning and relevance in the world? And then if you could also talk about the more recent work you've done related to the election, which is fantastic. Thank you very much. And like sort of your notion of art and social change, like how it started forming and how it evolved. I know that's a big question, but yeah, there it is.
Yeah. It's a little bit there. The Hope poster was an extension of a lot of my beliefs coming together. I usually considered myself an outsider and did a lot of work critiquing what was wrong with the system. But with my frustrations with the Bush administration, seeing Obama going in a direction that I thought was, much more aligned with my philosophy. And I thought, well, even though my brand is rebellion, I'm actually going to back a mainstream candidate with a sincere image, because I think that it's important. And when I did it, I thought it would reach a small audience, my audience, and it just, surpassed my expectations in 1,000 times over. But what that image did, the way it went viral, was it made me realize that for all the excuses that I've made myself or heard from others that, hey, if you don't have deep pockets, if you're not powerful, you might as well just sit on the sidelines because you're shut out of the system. I saw a grassroots tool of activism actually make a big difference coming from, a much more, a humble and an outsider place. And so I think that a lot of what keeps democracy from working the way it should is because people are complacent because they feel powerless. So, the biggest thing I took away from that project was my ability to say as a case study, hey, for every issue that comes up, for every politician that you believe in, there might be an opportunity to make an image that helps achieve a critical mass or a breakthrough, and never think that you need to just sit on the sidelines powerless. You got to vote, but there's a lot more that you can do. And that just strengthened my belief in art as a tool to create conversations that wouldn't happen otherwise. And that power of art should definitely not be relegated to just galleries and museums. My thing is to just put art where people live, and whether that's murals or whether that's on t-shirts or stickers, and to have free downloads on my site. And then additionally, to use revenue from my prints, which I try to keep affordable, to support the organizations who are doing work on the ground around the issues I'm focusing on in the work. So there's sort of an integrated, holistic approach where some people, you kindly said, maybe I have a generous spirit, but really you could also say that I selfishly want to reshape the world into a world I'd rather live in. So, there's that.
So now we're going to go to Tariq Trotter. Tariq is the founder and lead MC singer of the legendary Roots. And I know he knows Roots, but he is also an incredible theater artist and writer and poet and an extraordinary person who Philadelphia claims him as our own. And we are so happy. And Tariq and I go way back, actually, like way back in the day when he was like writing graffiti and I worked for the Anti-Graffiti Network. It's not as bad as it sounds. But we have connected over the years and in a way that has been just really super inspiring. And we did the Roots mural, which for anyone who's in Philly, it's at 15th and South. You should go see it. And Tariq, so I'd love if you could talk for a minute about how we connected, but I also want to ask you, when you joined the Roots, did you see yourself as an artist who was engaged in social issues? How did you start to understand that art could have an impact on the world? Like, what was that sort of merging for you of art and social change? Was there a moment that it happened? Was it incremental? Who were your influences?
Well, Jane, thanks for that wonderful introduction. Then, yeah, we go back to, I guess when I was about 12 years old, where, I guess as luck would have it, I had been placed under arrest for what was then considered vandalism and not high art. And I was my part of my sentence was was to do a couple hundred hours, I think maybe 150 hours of what they call scrub time with the Philadelphia Anti-Graffiti Network. And that's where Jane and I first met. And the rest is a long history. I think the function of the artist, I guess the purpose of what some people consider to even be a responsibility of the creative is to pose, just as Shepard said, is to sort of get that conversation going and to pose the important questions. So through music or spoken or written word, or colors on a wall or a canvas, physical movement or theater, what have you, we address just some of the most important and most relatable issues. What is the meaning of life? The subject of mortality. What is love, God? what is justice, where is justice, and so on and so forth. And some things are such sensitive or sometimes heavy issues that we need to somehow soften the blow. So that's where satire and comedy, or doing different things with the illustration, animation, come into play to make it, I guess, more accessible to a broader scope of people. Some ideas and ideals can be articulated in a simple statement, the statement that exists in a sticker or a sculpture or a patch sewn onto the arm of a coat, or a mural, or a billboard for that matter. We ultimately challenge and defend and redefine what these things are, or what they may become. And one example that comes to mind off top is which is actually part of the Wide Awakes and For Freedoms, and I'm sure Shepard's philosophy is just the idea of joy, as a form of rebellion, and of art as a weapon. I think artists are born artists, and that we express that creativity in different ways. In that, in many cases, we find like our own lane, which feels like the best fit, and then that becomes our discipline, or the medium in which we feel, I guess, the most articulate in our expression.
Kids in one of our art ed, we serve about 2,000 kids in our art education programs, and a number of kids came together to think about like who was a strong influence, and they said you. And they sort of referenced some of what you were saying. And so everybody should know, like on the side of the Clay Studio, their new building, it's going to be a 5-story building. It's really going to be about Tariq and his influences. And it's going to be part ceramic, and it's going to be, really beautiful and super exciting. And then we're going to get Tariq here to meet our kids, and it's going to be so thank you. Thank you for inspiring so many people. And that answer was just beautiful. So now, Hank Willis Thomas, and Hank, you have been someone I have really admired for a long time. Your work is beautiful, sophisticated. You again, like Tariq and Shepard, there is just such an incredible range for you, and that. To me, I love the fact that your work addresses inequality and bias, and that you work there's photographs, sculpture, video, collaborative work in public space, and that you're both intentional, you're vigilant, and you're sort of out there in every way, from both works that are made in your studio to the For Freedoms and the Wide Awakes. And I just have so much respect for you. So I want to ask you, I have so many questions, but I'm going to start here because I'm interested how you went from photography to sculpture and then work in public space. And then because I have a slight bias, because I absolutely adore this piece, I'd like you to talk about Monument Lab, what it meant to you, how it might have changed or intensified your thinking about monuments, happening at a time in this country when there was sort of worldwide questioning about memorials and monuments, and what it was like to do the Afro pick that was sited 30 feet from the Rizzo statue.
Well, thank you, Jane. It's great to be on this panel with two of the artists that have inspired me most. I actually know that there was a moment when I was living in San Francisco listening to phrenology specifically, and looking at one of Shepard's Obey posters just a couple blocks from where I was in graduate school. And so like, I love it when the synergy of different moments in my life come together. And it was really through like the diverse and eclectic way in which Tariq has expressed himself as an artist and musician over the course of his career, but also the way in which Shepard kind of created a posse through his radical public interventions that were both challenging the status quo, yet also in some ways mocking and questioning kind of the need for that to be kind of a way of working. And I've always thought that putting humor and curiosity and and surprise and hopefully some courage into the public discourse would be really, something that I wanted to do. And my grounding philosophy is that, what inspires us, and Tariq knows this especially because his brain is really very much about like feeling the vibes and calling words forth. So just so you know that you're in the other dimensions and you're clearly wide awake and nourishing joy. But also, Jane, you introduced me to Tariq for the first time when I came to Philadelphia to present this Afro-Pic sculpture, which we titled "All Power to All People." That was, just a few yards from the now removed Frank Rizzo sculpture, and it was a 9-foot Afro-Pic and pretty monumental moment for me because as a child in Philadelphia, I remember, the steel tooth Afro-Pic that my grandmother and my aunts would use on my head, which was like something I can never forget. But also the fist on it, and I didn't understand that saying that you were Black and beautiful was a political, hey, here we go. That's it. Yeah, exactly, Tariq. But yeah, my mother had to tell me later, like, it was an oxymoron for someone to say they were Black and beautiful, that it was actually art and politics, whether it be music and visual arts, that helped the world to see the most glaringly obvious thing, which is that everyone is beautiful. And the fear of Black beauty actually is what limited our society's capacity to grow. And that only through embracing Black power and Black beauty can we actually reach our ultimate goals as a society. And I have been blessed and excited to be able to grow that specific project into now there's a 25-foot version of this Afro-Pic sculpture that we brought to Burning Man. You can climb inside it. Tariq did the daredevil feat of climbing inside it for a video we did for his Quiet Trip and Nature of the Beast songs. It was wiggly, but we had it in West Philadelphia. We had it at the church that my family has been part of for 100 years in North Philadelphia. And it's traveled all across the country. And there's something just, I definitely tie it directly to Shepard's work because the audacity, and also I think this specific movie that both of us have in common as an inspiration being They Live, which is about a wanderer having an awakening where they can see beyond the surface of things. Jane, I can't imagine the lives that you've touched and that Mural Arts has touched, not only the eyeballs that have seen it, but there's the young people who had their first engagement with art and creativity and putting their mark on public space without being shamed. I hope that the work that we do is also in that same legacy and that we will be passing that forward for generations as well.
Will you have all help validate the work? Because back in the day at the Anti-Graffiti Network, when we were painting murals, people would say, you're not doing public art. And I'd be like, wait, we're in public doing art. So what are we doing? And people would respond as if they had a lemon in their mouth. They would say social work. And it was always like this thing. And it was race, it was class, it was elitism. And I would say to the kids, hold your heads up. We're going to be vindicated someday. And then when people started talking about social practice, I was like, aha, this is the moment. So, but thank you for, all sort of enriching me personally and of course, Mural Arts. How do we use art to sort of sustain the public's engagement with these critical issues, the issues of racial, economic, and social equality? And then I think that just from the point of view of what I've seen over 20, 30 years with the sector here in Philly, it's sort of like we're always at the precipice. Like there's the arts money is going away. There's, it's like both nationally and locally. It's just somehow, as much as we say art is important, as much data and numbers that we have to back up what we're saying, there is always this scarcity, right? And how do we flip that? And so what advice do you, 3 esteemed people have for mayors, for governors and President-elect Biden.
Can I start?
Yes.
One thing, because I've worked with a lot of different programs where there is actual data that shows people who, whether they're in juvenile detention or in jails, when they have art programs and music programs, the self-esteem, the problem solving, everything that comes out of that is incredibly beneficial to the success of their reentry. And I think that's one area where there's data, but you could apply that to all of society, that when there are art programs and music programs in schools, there are people who express themselves, they share their ideas, they don't keep their rage pent up. Yeah. They develop self-esteem, they develop skills to problem solve on the fly. And one of the other statistics I heard was that for every dollar invested in the arts, there's an $8 return. So for all you capitalists out there, that's all the only language you understand, there's that. But really just the almost intangible in terms of what's quantifiable, but very tangible in terms of how you feel it, principle of how places thrive when there's more art. When you look at cities that they say sprung back to life, it's always driven by a focus on the success of the arts in general and public art. And so humans thrive when they have access to art, and a lot of these problems are organically addressed through it. So the idea that this isn't valued, I think, it's upsetting to me, but of course I'm living it all the time, and I'm not one of the bureaucrats that just goes on numbers. So we need to get more of us woven into the system. You're a very good ambassador for all of this, Jane. So I don't know why you're asking us. You do it every day.
No, I want to hear what you have to say. But really, I think we need a WPA right now, a works program across the country, artists painting things for the better. Sorry, I get so excited.
I love it.
So thank you, Shepard. So Tariq and Hank, like what advice? What are we telling our elected officials?
I would tell them, just that. I feel like more artists, more creatives, need a seat at the table. We need to be part of that discussion, and in order to make art and the arts a part of that equation, because art is resilience, and everything that Shepard just said was absolutely true. Something that Toni Morrison said in her essay, which is titled Peril, as part of the book The Source of Self-Regard, was she said, I've been told about that there are two human responses to the perception of chaos, naming and violence. But there is, however, a third response to chaos, which I've not heard about so much, and that is stillness. And such stillness can be, passivity and dumbfoundedness, but it can also be, paralytic fear, but it can also be art.
Yeah. Hank?
Wow. One thing that I know about artists, that everyone knows about art, is that it's hard. It's hard work. Artists understand the value and the importance of hard work. Artists are also self-starters. They're entrepreneurs. They actually are responsive and deep listeners, and they also can rebound from great obstacles. Those are great lessons for every politician and everyone who's invested in trying to enhance and improve our society. I think through the example of much of Shepard's work, but especially the Hope poster, it's funny because the poster is almost bigger than the person it was about. Because what it did is it said, it said, like, art has, we have something to say. The artists have something to say, and it's probably one of the most important. 150 years from now, people will still be thinking about the impact of that specific image on the country and the world. Artists take the next step into political life. And because so many of us are afraid of failing.
Yeah.
You fail for a living, right? So I'm going to take this moment to announce the campaign of Tariq Trotter for governor of.
I'm coming. Here I come.
But really, that's what I mean. That's what it's going to take, because we have to get involved, and what we do is we disrupt, we mess things up so that they can be regenerative. A society without creativity is going to die.
Thank you so much. You're incredibly inspiring, and I'm so happy that we get to work together in different ways. Hank and Tariq are going to collaborate on a project in Philly, and we're thinking about the site. I'm sort of advocating for a mural, but maybe it'll be something else, but I know it's happening, and hopefully this summer. And then of course, Tariq's mural is happening. And Shepard, thank you for doing that beautiful voting mural. We were so honored to host that and have it here. And we would love you to come back and do another big project in Philly. You are always welcome here. And I wanted to end, there is this poem that I really love, and it is by Adrienne Rich. It's just a section, and she says, "What would it mean to live in a city whose people were changing each other's despair into hope?" And then she says, "You yourself must change it." And I feel that we not only have the responsibility to do that, we have the capacity to do it. And we have to do it in an intentional way and make every minute count. And art is part of the lens we should be looking at when we think about the world and its future. So I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart, Shepard, Tariq, and Hank, your inspirations to us here at Mural Arts and beyond.
A special thank you to our sponsors.